Oh, good morning, everybody. Today is uh, today is Thursday, December 8th. This is video two in a video log series that I'm going to upload, make available for you good folks to view, both on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. There are other places as well. I'm sure that I can upload this too. I'm feeling a little rough today. I think I'm losing the cold. It's losing its grip finally. It's been about 3 weeks with it, so I'm going to be happy to see the cold go. I'm pretty sure that the stress that I was under had something to do with pushing, the cold that I had. So today's segment, I'd like to take you all back to 2016. In fact, 2016, kind of around the June, July ish, 2016. You know, uh, my sister Melanie showed up at the bottle return one day, and she says, "Daryl," she says, "my birthday is coming up. You know, it would it was in August is when Melanie's birthday is." And she says to me, she says, "I want to go on a vacation." She says, "I want you to go with me." I says, "Okay, Melanie, not a problem. You know, when do you want to go? Tomorrow, the next day would be good." And she says, "No." She says, "No." She says, "I'll be back in a couple of hours to pick you up." She says, "We'll be leaving today." I says, "We will?" She says, "Yeah, we'll be leaving today." It was okay, Mel. So I was at the bottle return when she had stopped in and seen me. Of course, I went, back to my home where, now I was going to pack a bag for a road trip. I wanted to make Kyle, ready for the road trip. Packed his bag up, some shorts, and pants, change clothes, and such. Everything needed, for a trip to Virginia Beach. And you know, lo and behold, here not long after that, Melanie did show up to pick us up, and we piled into our vehicle, and we left Canastota bound for Virginia Beach. Now, as we're in the truck, and we're quite a few hours, a couple hours away from the house, Melanie begins having this conversation with me. Um, a rather troubling conversation, in fact, she had with me that day. And she goes on to explain that the doctor's office that she worked for, the Ojavales, Chittenango Wellness in Chittenango, New York, that they had just given her a leave of absence from work. In fact, they had even suspended her from work, I found out. And for the reason that they had suspended her was for suicide related issues. Attempt of, thoughts of, I'm not really sure, but just that I know that suicide was mentioned, and that she was on some pretty powerful medicine. I would also like to note that on the ride to Virginia Beach, that Melanie had a rash. I want you to remember the rash as a little bit later, in this story, I'm going to bring that rash back up. But anyways, we continued our trip, down to Virginia Beach. Melanie, of course, explaining, several things along the way. A lot of that had, you know, uh, was negativeness towards mom. In fact, that she was made to keep taking care of her. That even with dad in the house, she was doing everything. The mom was, one day she was home, the next day she was at the nursing home or the hospital for the breathing issues. Mom retained her memory. She knew who everybody was. She knew who I was, knew who Melanie was, talked to Kyle. Mom was very, very with it. However, Melanie had a lot of distaste, or dislike, either for mom or for, the situation, but either or, she let it be known, that she wasn't happy. Well, throughout the rest of the drive to Virginia Beach, we talked about many things. So we continued our trip. We arrived in Virginia Beach. And the first day it wasn't too bad. We hung out. We had been awake all night because we had spent the night driving. We drove through the night. So when we got to Virginia Beach, it was daytime. We had made our way across the big bridge and the tunnels and stuff, and now we're in Virginia Beach. And the first couple of days, as I said, it wasn't too bad. There were a lot of references to mom. There were a lot of references to dad. Well, one of the references that was mentioned while we were in Virginia Beach had to do with Melanie taking mom out of a nursing home at a particularly vulnerable moment, in a time when mom was pretty, she was in and out of the breathing issues. So at the time, she was sick. So Melanie's thought was that she could go and get mom from the nursing home to bring her home, and that her sickness would lead to her demise. That was Melanie's idea. My mom, she didn't have any money. She didn't have a bank account. My mom didn't have a house or own property. My mom had nothing. And as Melanie explained, she wasn't getting anything. Mom had nothing. What was the point in trying to keep helping, her mother if she wasn't going to get anything out of it? That's what Melanie had told me. And she had made it very clear, that she was upset about this. And, it was frequently talked about, throughout the trip. Well, also on that trip, we had been out and been swimming and done some things. And we were back at the hotel room. This was in the evening, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Now, Kyle had eaten all day. He was laying down, he was resting, and on his way to sleep. However, Melanie, felt that she could, have Kyle doing whatever, and that what I said didn't matter. If she wanted him up, I wanted him to sleep, then he should get up. That was her thought. Melanie didn't have any regard for anybody else. Melanie never did. Unless it benefited Melanie directly, most times Melanie didn't have anything at all to do with it. As with this night. So Melanie decided to make a show, of a drink that she had, an alcoholic drink. And she made a big old show out of drinking it, asking me to drink and such. And I don't drink. I didn't drink that night neither. However, Melanie came in and she kept trying to annoy and aggravate Kyle. And she did this by walking in and throwing things at him. She wadded up a cigarette pack. She threw it at him. She wadded up some paper. She threw it at him. She wasn't trying to be nice. She wasn't tossing it on the bed. She wasn't trying to throw it, on his body, his legs, or whatever. She was trying to beam Kyle in the head with different things that she was throwing at him. Well, one of the things that she threw at him was a plastic bag. And in it was, something heavy. I'm not sure as to what it was exactly. I want to say sunglasses or something that was picked up that day. I can't remember. But then she decided to throw that at Kyle. While she's doing this, she's trying to get Kyle out of bed to eat, as she is trying to get hamburgers cooked on a grill that's on the walkway for this motel room. And kept telling Kyle that he has to get up, he has to eat, and the whole time trying to annoy Kyle while doing this. So she had thrown this plastic bag, had something in it. And at the time, Kyle had finally gotten pissed at Melanie, who was trying to provoke him. So Kyle threw the plastic bag back at Melanie. Now, where Melanie has been missing or wasn't, landing any of her throws, Kyle, of course, threw this plastic bag, and it was dead right on his. He smacked Melanie, pretty much right in the forehead with this. And again, this was all done in play as she was doing this to him, and, this had been going back and forth for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes now, so. Here comes this bag that beams Melanie in the forehead now, and Melanie just went right into a rage. I'm talking straight rage. She is dropping F-bombs. She's telling Kyle he ruined her birthday. He was garbage. He was trash. I'm a horrible parent. I'm a bad dad, bad guy, you name it. This went on for 45 minutes. And it went on to the point where we received a knock at the door, and we were told by the people of the hotel that if she didn't mellow out, that they were going to throw us out. Well, so Melanie did mellow after that. She did. However, she kept going on to me about it. So we get through the day, we went to bed, we get up the next day. Now, and Melanie, all of a sudden, she wants to beat feet back to New York. She doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't have anything to do with Kyle. He's a horrible kid. I'm a horrible dad. Now Melanie's totally in a rage, And she says, well, I got something for you. You wait until we get back. You wait. Your mother that you hold so precious and your kid you hold so precious. Well, you're going to be out one of them. What? Oh yeah, I got plans for you. She said. What are you talking about? Well, we pile into the truck and Melanie is still going on about the night before. Well, not only is she going on about the night before and, constantly swearing and calling horrible names, but now we're in the truck and we're on the way back to New York State, back to Syracuse now at this point. Well, Melanie pulls into a gas station, and she says, well, why don't you get out and check the oil and blah, blah, blah. I says, I'm not doing nothing for you, Melanie. So I'm not checking your vehicle. I'm not putting gas in it. I says, you did some nasty, horrible stuff the other night, and you've said some really, really cruel things. And says, I just want you to take me and my son home, and after that, we're done. We're good. Well, she decided to flip out that day in the truck, and told me to get out. Daryl, walk home. I'm not taking you home. She says, no, I'm not taking you home. You walk. I said, well, that's fine, Melanie. I don't care about walking. I'm good with that. I says, come on, Kyle, we're leaving. No, you ain't taking. I said, yeah, I'm taking Kyle. He's my son. I said, you don't think for a minute that I'm going to leave him in this truck with you after you've been horrible for 2 straight days to him, to I. That ain't happening, no. And so we both got out of the truck that day. We were just north of Virginia Beach. We had only just began the journey back. And as I said, Kyle and I, we got out of the truck. We began walking. Well, Melanie drove back and forth past us on the road, yelling, swearing at us, calling us names. This went on for a good couple of hours. As we walked up the road, well, I got tired of hearing the name calling, of course, so I decided that, we were going to sit and have lunch. I had money, so we sat, had lunch. Figured we let Melanie go past us so we wouldn't have to deal with that no more. So while we're on our way back, and I decided to make a phone call to talk to my mom. I made a phone call to New York State. Well, Melanie had already made a phone call to New York State. And she's going on to explain to my mom that, I'm crazy. I got out of the vehicle. I'm walking back to the house. I'm days away from the house. And all kinds of different crap she told my mom. Well, not only did she tell her that, she said that I'm walking on, a dangerous highway and interstate and such. But, truth be known, that I was walking on a road no different than Route 20 between Casanova and Morrisville. It's a 4-lane road. But, had stop signs, had driveways, speed limit in that stretch of road. I believe it was 45 mile an hour where I was walking. So it wasn't even 55 or even 65, and it wasn't a controlled highway. Well, not only did she go on to tell my mother all of these crazy stories, but she also went on to call the local police department as well, and the sheriff's department, and to go on to tell them stories. She told the police that I was kidnapping my kid. She told the police that I had my kid in a dangerous place. I was a horrible person, a bad father, that I was going to get my son killed or kidnapped or whatever. But she decided she was going to tell the police all these things. And hours went by. That day, hours went by. And Kyle and I, we had made it a good distance up the highway, We walk into a gas station, get something to drink, and pulls a police car behind us. He puts his lights on and pulls up right behind Kyle and I. He gets out of his car and asked us to hold on a minute. So we did. This police officer talks to us and tells us of Melanie and of her threatening phone calls, and that he's had some pretty crazy conversations with this lady. Well, Kyle and I went on to explain to him that we were not getting in that vehicle and that we were afraid. On the way down, she had fell asleep, almost wiped us out. She's been talking crazy shit pretty much since we had left New York State, and that had made Kyle and I pretty uncomfortable. She had talked about things such as me being a bad parent, Kyle being a horrible person, and how she couldn't stand taking care of her mother. She couldn't stand going back and forth. She couldn't stand any of that situation at all. I tried to help, and she would isolate me. She wouldn't pick me up. And then after she would avoid me, she would go on to say how much that she hated it. And she's the only one to do it. But she made it so that she was the only one to do it and that nobody else could help. She made that happen, so she could have the excuse. She was also in Virginia Beach over suicide issues. Suicide issues which were to do with mom, to do with taking care of mom, to do with the house. These were the issues that Melanie was looking at suicide. These are the issues why her work suspended her. They didn't want her back. So here we are on our way back from Virginia Beach, now talking to a police officer. As we explained to the police officer, no, officer, I'm not feeling safe. Well, he went over and decided to have a conversation with Melanie. I could hear him yelling, Kyle, and I could hear him yelling at Melanie now at this point, and that, had Daryl had me or Kyle make any phone calls whatsoever, that there were people along the route and that they would take care of the issue. And so we got into the truck that day at the gas station, and we came back to New York State. Coming back to New York State that day, I've got to say that my life changed, forever after that point. I was immediately suspicious of Melanie. And that trip to Virginia Beach that day showed me what she is truly capable of doing. When I come back from Virginia Beach and we get back to the house, Melanie goes to my father's house and where she explains to him that she went to the beach and that she just went for her birthday. She never told my father that she was there because of suicide reasons. She never told my father that she left because work had suspended her. She didn't say any of that. She didn't tell my father as well that she had a rash before she went to Virginia Beach, and in fact what she told my father when she come back was that the ocean was infected and that it was closed and that we couldn't swim in the ocean, and that the rash that she had and the bumps that she got from swimming in came from swimming in that water. However, the rash that she had on her arm, she had clearly there before we even got to Virginia Beach. Melanie is a very maniacal person, very manipulative person. And I'm going to close the Virginia Beach segment and stop video. I will begin part 3 here briefly. Thank you guys for watching.